Now, also another thing you're going to realize and see what I'm doing here is there's certain information that when you're shading in a tattoo that you don't necessarily always need or want a complete outline there. So you'll see some spots, for example, the little detail in the feathers. What I'm doing here, I'll pull the line and keep it very, very light. Now, although I might bring the shading, say, from the edge of the line a lot further down into it, you know, and almost all the way up to the next line, the leading edge of the wing, I don't necessarily need all that entire information. I don't necessarily need this whole entire line to be there and present. Sometimes it works and looks a lot better if you have some of the detail, some of the information completed with just a little bit of light shading alone. So what I'll do on certain areas, again, like these feathers specifically, is I will just keep just a little bit, just a remnant, just a little tiny bit of the line there present, so I have a guideline to where I'm going to do my shading at. But I want the majority of the detail to be present, to be done and completed with just the shading. Now that's going to give me a lighter, softer, slightly more realistic look as far as the actual detail on the feathers is concerned. And that's something that you can translate into a lot of different areas, a lot of different types of tattooing. Is you know, the integrity or the quality of the darkness of your actual lines. There's a lot of pieces that are done that you don't necessarily want a lot of line work to be present. Portraits, for example, are a very good reference as far as tattoos with minimal or very light line work, you know. Because in real life, if you were to take a photograph or have a photograph of somebody's face, there is no real actual solid lines defining anything. It's just different values and areas of shading that meet one another. Some are lighter and some are darker. So this is more of a very stylized art, you know, artsy kind of version of a bird. So again, it doesn't have to be, you know, portrait style, but you know, little hints of that kind of realism will help balance it out instead of having the full entire tattoo from beginning to end. With solid, bold, complete lines and solid areas of color and shading will tend to make it look a little more cartoony. So I tend to want to balance that out, you know, with a little bit more realism in the feathers, a little softer shading here and there, along with those bold, clean lines. It'll give you a nice balance between realism and, you know, stylized sort of cartoony artwork. Okay, so I feel like we got a pretty good example as far as how I'm going to go ahead and continue the rest of this line of work. I'm going to follow that same theory and the same concept with the rest of the feathers. You know, I'm going to have a nice, clean, bold perimeter with just slight hints of the details of the inside feathers along with the rest of the body. I'm just going to have a nice, clean outline. Then the next step after that is going to be my initial pass of solid black shading or the heavy shadow areas. So I'm going to go ahead and continue the outline right now, and then I will explain the shading once I get to that step.